This is a CC Radio podcast.
Welcome to episode 225 of the Countdown Movie and TV Reviews podcast. We hope you're having a politically correct day today. My name is Wayne.
Because we're about to fuck that shit up.
Oh, yeah.
My name is Paul. Welcome to the podcast. We count down movies and sometimes television in order of awesomeness so you don't have to. And as Wayne has alluded, as he often so adroitly does, today's topic is films that would never get made today.
That's right.
So the top 10.
Old school shit. When stuff was different. When thoughts and plays and politics was different.
Very much so.
You could pull some shit out then.
When you could get away with being, well, let's just say non-PC, I think is the way to do it. Now, a little bit interesting sort of how this list come together, and maybe we'll just discuss it right off the top here, Wayne.
Sure.
Best films that are non-PC, basically? Or is this here are the worst examples of films that got made. Can you believe this shit?
Really good question. On one level, I'm a mix of the two, if you can imagine such a thing.
I am a little bit too.
Where it's like, okay, this film would probably offend more people, right, if it was today.
But it's a shit film.
But it's a bit of a shit. Oh, yeah. And I don't know. I honestly, like, this one is... You could argue which one's higher than the other one, but I just wanted to talk about all of them.
Yeah, and we did briefly touch base on this, and we couldn't quite come to an agreement. We just said, hey, just do whatever you want to do.
Just pull some shit out so we can talk about some funny ass shit.
Well, potentially funny, potentially offensive.
Which is also quite funny sometimes.
So, trigger warning on this particular episode for you, ladies and gentlemen. We hope you'll stick with us, and of course, we are going to be talking about it in a mirthful way, whilst not condoning any of the shit that used to get by Hollywood studio executives.
I, on the other hand, make no apologies. Fuck you if you can't take a joke.
So Wayne's basically like,
bitch, please. Kind of, except not in an annoying shit way like that. So.
Well, speaking of the soundboard, straight into a little bit of feedback. First of all, in fact, the only bit that I want to talk about this week comes from our mate Dan over at Netflix and Swill, which I'm pretty sure most of our listeners have checked out Netflix and Swill. And if you haven't, do hit them up.
The brand.
Now, Dan, an unlikely ally for your good self, sir, when I listened to their recent episodes of theirs, when they were talking about Stranger Things Season 3 and the Never Ending Story song in that show, which won't spoil anything, and basically said, like Paul's shitty soundboard, it goes on too long.
Yes! Nice one, brother. Absolutely.
So, of course, I was like, wrote that back to them and said, how dare you? And then here was Dan's reply, I love you, Paul, but tell Wayne that anytime he needs help launching the soundboard into space, I got his back. Well, I'll let Wayne answer that.
No, he won't. All the S's, man. I hate that fucking thing.
So anyway, there you go. Not everyone loves the soundboard, hard as that is to believe.
No one likes it, man.
You're wrong.
They just like that it annoys me.
Well, it's still the same thing.
No, it's not the same thing.
The easy answer here is don't react and then it would disappear. But hey, good luck with that.
It's leaving laughs on the table, Paul. Does that sound like me?
Okay. And then to the results of last week's episode 224, the top 10 future set films. The vote in the Facebook listener community, the only place you can determine who wins. Currently, I lead 9-8 with one tie on the year. Very close. 27 votes to you.
Okay.
31 votes to me. I've scraped in on my birthday weekend.
Well
Thank you
done.
very much,
Yes, everyone.
everyone.
It was Paul's birthday yesterday at the time of recording.
Yeah.
So feel free to, as I said, give him a dick graze online. You know what I'm saying?
Sure, feel free. So it's a victory there. It takes me to 10-8, and I'll enjoy that this next week. Very close. And clearly, you waning it up didn't put too many people off. I couldn't believe that on people let you get have a pass on Lost in Space.
Lost in Space is fucking great, man. Fuck you.
And Predator 2.
Predator 2 is awesome also, man.
Somehow people were like, Paul had Matrix high up his list. There's not really future sets, so I'm marking him. What insanity is this, Mike? I think it was Mike Margosian was like that. And
character counts, Paul.
I think Geordie Davidson was in the same boat. And thanks to David Powell, did come to my rescue a little bit there and said, well, of course it's a future set film.
Yeah,
So,
I think it is. Obviously, it was on my list, so there you are.
it seemed like most people were voting for you, yet the vocal majority were voting
On your side.
Vocal
Fair
minority.
enough.
Wait.
Like I said, we both win.
Yeah.
They listen.
Yeah, no, good stuff. Good episode, good fun. And hopefully today we'll be right there as well. I think Gidget Von Lowe did call you out in Lost in Space. She said that fucking robot thing was ridiculous.
I really have trouble
alien,
believing that people don't like this movie. It was great. Fuck. It's like Van Helsing up in this bitch.
Oh! You asked for that. Jesus. Van Helsing, what a piece of shit that movie was.
Great show.
Anyway, let's get into it then. Alongside this music cue, the top 10 films that would never get made today. Top 10 films which would never get made today.
What the fuck? That was the most ineffective sound effect. No one can even understand what you have said.
I already know what the topic is. We can just move right along.
Yeah, we can.
We talked about how we made our list then. Wayne, why don't you lead us away with your film, 10th highest film that would never get made today?
Righto. So I was starting a bit light on, you know. I mean, things get more and more offensive as the list goes higher. Just like me.
Ironically, people find you less offensive the higher they are.
Yeah, which, that's how it works. My number 10 is the movie Better Off Dead from 1985. It had John Cusack in it.
Oh, okay.
This is about the teenage Lane Meyer, played by John Cusack, and he has a crush on his girlfriend, Beth, you know, whatever. She dumps him for a better-looking guy, and he decides to commit suicide. So this movie is, for the first part of this film, it's about John Cusack attempting to commit teen suicide in various ways, but failing each time, and it's really candid and matter-of-fact as how it shows him casually sitting in a car with the exhaust pipe being fed in through the window, and he's smoking a cigarette, and he's casually chatting with a teddy bear, and that's just one of the ways he failed. I personally think that, you know, suicides have been depicted before, but in this movie, it's a comedy. So they're actually making light of the teenage suicide
I'm uncomfortable,
attempts.
I have to admit. And I think I saw this one a long time ago, but I've forgotten it.
It's the snowing one. It's the skiing one, right? but I'm saying that today there's a studio. I don't think there's a studio that would take a gamble on trivializing teen suicide.
No.
So, I mean, I do love the film, though. I gotta say, I like the film. And
Okay. So you have seen it. All right. Yeah,
the important thing about a lot of my films, I like the shit out of them, and I still like them, and I think they still work today. A lot of them.
There's a couple on my list I don't like.
A couple,
but I stuck here because I just had to talk about them.
No, you can totally talk. Yeah, shit ones, but like a lot of them I like. So you know.
Okay, all right, that's your number 10.
That's right. Your number 10, sir.
It's from 1987, and a good deal of my films are from the 80s. You might notice that.
Oh, that's just gonna happen
as we travel through. And I'm talking about Gary Marshall's Overboard, starring Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn.
Yes.
Most people are probably familiar with it. Now, the reason it's 10 and not higher on my list is because it was remade this year, but the gender roles were switched and it was softened.
The
in the
Spanish
80s,
dude?
Yeah, in the 87 version, basically Goldie Hawn's his rich heiress or whatever else. She falls overboard, bangs her head, and Kurt Russell is like working on her boat or whatever.
Yep.
Effectively kidnaps her, takes her home, convinces this amnesiac woman that, oh yeah, we're together and you're the mum of our boys here and you need to tend to the house. So wrong in so many ways.
Well, doesn't it even go to like they do it and stuff?
Oh yeah.
So
she fulfills her wifely duties.
That's right. He's gaslighted her big time, right? So
it's disgraceful.
It's funny how
it's hard to believe. And it's played off as a comedy. Now, maybe it trades a little bit on the fact that obviously Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell were together. So it softens
I think it totally does.
To some degree.
Totally does, yeah.
And they obviously have some chemistry and all the rest of that. But from my memory of this film, in 87, or whenever I watched this, 88, 89, probably around that age, I'm like, boring sort of comedy, whatever. Now I think of that, that's a train wreck.
Oh yeah,
how is this allowed to happen?
Remember, that's the hero of the story doing this. So it's completely like,
You're meant to be on side with him.
Exactly. You're like, hey, wouldn't it be great if this drug fucked and like, you know?
I've not seen the remake and I have no plans to, but my understanding is they have softened it some ways as well. Like it's not as
if a woman
bad
takes advantage of a man, it's fine.
No, but even then they've still softened it. Like I'm not sure how, but a couple of reviews I read said they did.
I heard a bad review of that show.
Oh, so it didn't make it splash.
No,
no pun intended.
Yeah.
Over to you.
Okay, my number 9 is a little bit obvious now that I think about it, but I had to put it in there. It's Heathers.
Yeah.
Heathers. Oh, really? Okay, well, I'm sure you will agree then.
There's a theme to your list.
What? Everything's
suicide.
Low? Yeah, well, this was suicide, but more than that, it was bombs in schools and guns in schools.
Yep.
And I think
isn't this cool? No.
Well, it
No,
had a
it's
lot.
not.
That's right. It had a lot to say about bullying.
Mhm.
But I think what I liked about the movie when I saw it was that okay, so Christian Slater is like the badass whatever, and then the jocks come and try and piss him off, but then he shoots next to their ears and they shit themselves. So now he's the badass who's got a gun. But then when Winona Ryder starts doing things like luring them into the bushes so they can kill him and like all this other kind of shit, which is basically high school shooting. No way is that getting done today.
No, 100% agree.
No way. No way.
Clearly, it's on my list and higher up for all the reasons you just said.
Okay.
I think violence with children and making it look like suicides, and there's just so much wrong with this movie.
Wasn't there an alternate ending? Instead of Christian Slater just blowing himself up outside the school, I heard a story that they went off inside. I can't remember what it was. I remember thinking that was...
Excellent podcasting. Well done,
Yeah,
sir.
sorry. Well, yeah, I know it was my choice, wasn't it? Never mind. Sorry, everyone, but Heather's number 9.
All right, my number 9 is a film so bad that
Yeah.
it destroyed the career of its lead actor who took this on, who was a bit of an up-and-comer, a bit of a young, hot 80s man, sort of ran around the Brat Pack, I think. In 1986, I'm talking about C. Thomas Howell no more in Soul Man.
Low! This is low as fuck. And of course I agree. Good God, people. Good
The
God.
tagline.
Please tell us what
It's a
happened.
comedy with heart and soul.
Oh, that's great. Please tell us what it's about, Paul.
It is basically, C. Thomas Howell is a privileged white boy. Well, not privileged actually. He has no money, but he's very smart, and he gets good enough grades to get into Harvard. Is it?
Yes, but the scholarship he's after
Yeah, is only for African Americans.
Exactly.
So he dons. I don't even know. Can I even say this? Is it?
It's blackface,
Blackface.
essentially.
Oh my God.
It is. But like what he chemically tans his skin with pills and just takes too many so it turns black because that's how it works.
It is astounding.
Yeah, it is so astounding. And the thing is that he doesn't even look like a black man. He just looks like a white guy with shoe polish on his face.
It's just awful.
And like
We're
really
laughing
bad
at it 'cause
afro.
it's so bad.
No, it's so bad. And but what is cool about this show is that cool. Sorry, you know what? Actually, fuck you. I like this show.
No.
I do. I do.
No way.
Look, I haven't,
No.
I haven't
Don't
seen
make
it.
me throw my headphones down.
Dude,
Storm
I
out of
haven't
here.
seen it since it happened, but I remember in the 80s. Shut up, cracker. No. Bitch.
Thank you, Will Smith.
Oh, eat a dick. Now, if we...
African American.
Fuck off. Yeah, that's the sound you picked, motherfucker. No, check it out. When I saw
If you
this...
prefer.
I prefer none of them, you vaginal fuck. So... When I saw this in the 80s, I remember having zero problems with it, and I think I remember finding this scene particularly funny when they're having a basketball game and he turns up to play, and they they look at him and the two teams fight over him, like, because he's black, right? And then he doesn't look black, right? And he's like, guys, I'm pretty good. I'm not really that good. And then he goes on to suck ass. Now that shit's pretty funny, right? Because the way it was played was slow-mo basketball where he jams it really badly and he just misses every shot. So it's...
For whatever reason, that song, I'm a soul man, whoever it's by.
Lou Reed.
Yeah, it's stuck in, is forever associated with this movie.
Absolutely. And, this is the 80s for you, but I think at the end he did... Yeah, I remember. Look, I enjoyed it at the time. I haven't seen it again since. I may have some issues with it.
I fucking hope so.
But the thing is, here's my problem with art, okay, that is like, art should never be revised down. Like, for instance, the Huck Finn? The novel has a
No, it was written in 18 whatever.
1800. It's got a character named
19, 10, whatever.
It's got a character named right now.
No.
Can we say
No.
it's in
Stop
there?
saying it!
I hate saying N-word.
I'm going to beep both of those out now, you asshole.
What?
It's work for
Fine,
me.
cracker. It's actually written. What I'm saying is they're talking about editing that out of the books, the New Forwards.
So they should.
No, they shouldn't. The whole point of it back then is that this guy's life is so bad that that's his actual name. It's part of the story. You edit that, it means something
Not
different.
having this discussion.
You're an
Moving
asshole.
on. Oh, I'm the asshole.
Yeah! Didn't mean for it to get so political.
Oh, jeez. And
fine.
this is at number 9. Dear God, we've got a long way to go.
Oh, dude, forget about it. I wasn't planning for this kind of show, but I don't give a fuck.
This sort of thing ain't my bag, baby.
Cracker, please. Well, it's not going to get any better with my next choice.
Oh, God.
The movie's called Cool World.
Ooh.
Okay. This
Saw
movie...
it once, barely remember it.
Oh, dude. Cool World is a movie from 1992 which had Gabriel Byrne in it and Brad Pitt and Kim Basinger playing a convict who creates a cartoon featuring an alluring female character called Hollywood. And This was that slew of reality versus cartoon films that
Who
kind of
Framed
dotted
Roger
the
Rabbit.
era. Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Set it all off.
Yeah, this kind of thing. But this one is the story is that Gabriel Byrne gets sucked into that cartoon world because the rule in that world, get this, is that if a cartoon has sex with a human, the cartoon becomes real and can go into the real
Of course
world.
it does.
Of course it does, all right? So there's actually a scene where the cartoon...
Physics 101.
I mean, that's how it's known, right? There's a scene where a cartoon sexy woman is actually having sex with Gabriel Byrne, and it's Kim Basinger's voice, obviously. And I'm going to be honest with you here,
Oh,
Paul.
God.
The sex is... The way it's portrayed and the way it's presented to you, it's kind of hot.
You're mocking me, aren't
Because
you?
what happens is, like, she does some squealing and squelching and stuff like that, and then she just like, turns into Kim Basinger. So it's supposed to lead you towards actually finding it. The point is, the actual the tone of this cartoon is such that it's actually asking you to enjoy cartoon sex. All right? Can you imagine that being made right now?
No. No, you're right.
Remember, Brad Pitt's in this, Gabriel Byrne. I think what they tried to do here, the way they're pitching it, is like, this is in the age of, there's no Frozen empowering fucking type girl cartoons back then, all right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're going, we're going to make this edgy thing where we get big stars and it's got a big budget, kind of, and then it's going to be the thing that goes out and it's a surprise hit, and geez, did it not work well.
It definitely couldn't get made today. And I probably didn't think I was going to hear someone talking about how it was alluring today either.
As a young man who was 17 at the time in 1992,
When I was 17.
when I was 17,
It was a very good year.
I think I remember having a half a mongrel at that scene. So just, I'm saying, I was 17. It went off all the time. It went off all the time.
Okay.
Anyway, like I said,
Too much
are
information.
you having a good show?
Moving right along. I'm going back to a relative safety of when men dressed as women and people thought they really were women from 1959. Some Like It Hot.
Really? The fucking
Tony Curtis, Jack
and-
Lemmon.
What's
film.
her name? What's her name?
Marilyn Monroe.
Marilyn Monroe, there you
Yes.
go.
Yeah. I can't see today it being cool if two men were dressing as women and, being around all the women and all the sort of apparently womanly problems that happen, and they're brought right into the inner sanctum.
I'm thinking about this because, like, if you, I liked that movie. I liked the show.
I didn't mind it.
I liked it.
It was overhyped for me by the time I got to
Sure,
it.
because it's like a classic or whatever. But
And I found it very hard to believe that anybody thought they were women. That's the thing. I could not, the whole time looking there going, it's not like they're Thai lady boys. It's not like it's hard to tell.
Well, then
they're clearly men. How are these women, and indeed everyone,
You know what?
not clued in straight
they
away?
did make this movie. It's called White Chicks.
That's another film would never be fucking made again.
No way.
So-
Plus, besides because the makeup was so bad. But I was trying to think about this. If you were doing a movie now where it's like, okay, the two male leads are in drag or whatever, right?
And
That's
that's
not drag. It's different. They're
no,
trying
it's
to pass
not.
off as women,
yes.
aren't they? Yeah.
Whereas Tu Wong Fu, Julie,
Yeah,
whatever,
they're actually drag.
They're drag queens, and that's fine
Yeah. No, that's
because they're not passing themselves off anything else that they're not.
you're
you
right.
know?
There's no way these two men would present as women and then say, "Oh, I've got these women problems."
And they run from the mob. They've seen murders, and it's like, like the tone of this film's really weird, really weird. And then the millionaire who's hitting on Jack Lemmon is like, "I'm a man." So,
Oh yeah, that's
the
right.
last line of the film is like, "Hey, you can't have everything," or whatever he says. It's just ridiculous. But anyway, I wouldn't make that film today.
Fair enough. Totally
It's
fair
a
enough.
lot easier and breezier than some of that we've had so far, but it was certainly a better film than Overboard and Soul Man, which is why it's a little bit higher up my list.
All right, my number 7 is you Americans know it as airplane. Over here, we called it flying high.
Low, 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 low.
If you put a backing on that, that could work.
Very low.
Really?
Awfully low.
Well, the thing about this one here is it's a 1980s spoof about, it's like a spoof disaster movie about an airplane crash and sort of shit. Really, really funny. And by the way,
Hilarious.
I saw this about, I would say 6 years ago at the Rooftop Cinema. And it was one of those retro, everyone wanted to see
Yeah.
it things. You know what I mean? It became cool again. So I reckon there's actually scenes like the pilot is grooming a child.
Yep.
Right?
Child molestation.
Child
jokes.
molestation, and it's like played for laughs, and it's like holy shit, and then it's like, oh, you see, this dog is a boy dog. He's looking at the dog's dick. Shit like that keeps going. There's blowjob jokes, sure.
Yep. Balloon,
You know,
balloon fellatio.
oh yeah, and there's two vibrant African Americans gentlemen
Yes,
on that
jive
jive talking, and it is again hilarious.
Yeah, but awfully stereotyped.
But
Yes.
hilarious, right? And I dare say it holds up today. This is one of those shows that I like. The
Insensitivity towards PTSD and alcoholism.
massively, just massively. And like,
The religious intolerance, the guy next to him, the guy who's dressed like a Muslim dude. He's pouring petrol over himself. Like, oh my God. Which was the gif I ran with on Twitter for this.
oh yeah, yeah. There's a bit where there's a child asks a girl how she likes her coffee, and she says, "Black like my men." She just straight up says it. I'm like, I'm still funny.
Yeah, it is a good film despite that. But yes, it wouldn't get made today because those jokes would not pass.
Oh,
my
no
stuff.
way, man. No way in hell. No way in
And
hell.
that's why it's higher on my list because it is so funny and such a good movie.
Because it works.
All right, my number 7 is a film which just about everybody in the known universe now recognizes as problematic. It's a film about 2 young science nerds who create a woman for their pleasure. It's weird science.
You know what? I thought about this one, but I've got a reason why you might. Oh, keep going.
Well, that's it, really. Do I need to say anymore? Let's objectify a woman. And in the end, of course, she's better and stronger than they are.
Yeah, that's why I think
yes.
it may have been okay.
But-
Like you might. I don't know if you could make it now.
No, that's the point, and you couldn't.
Yeah, I guess you couldn't make it now. But the movie itself, it sounds to me. I remember when I wanted to see this movie when I was a kid. My mom didn't let me see it because she thought, "What's this movie about?" And I was like, "Well, these 2 dudes make a woman, and then they get the woman to do stuff for them."
Yep.
And from that description, it sounds like, oh, they make the woman fuck them.
Yes.
Right?
Which is
But
what
they
they're
don't do it.
That's
They
what they're
ju-
intending.
Were they?
Yeah, that's their goal.
Okay. And then she turned out to be too smart to fuck anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And then she turned Bill Paxton into a piece of shit.
Yep, highlight.
Great fucking show. That was a highlight. So, yeah, you're right. They wouldn't make this now.
Don't need to talk about any more than that. Lots of people had it on their lists through the listener feedback as well.
Not bad, not bad. My number 6, everyone, is the James Bond film You Only Live Twice.
Oh, okay. Why this one?
Oh, early James Bond films are rife with non-PC content.
Of course.
Because they're old.
Yes,
All
and
right.
it's James Bond.
But this is the one that would offend, in my opinion, on the more like wide-reaching scale. This one is where it's where James Bond, Sean Connery, goes to Japan on a secret service assignment, and in order to carry out the assignment, James Bond's Japanese handler is a dude who says, "Okay, we're gonna get started on the mission, but first we have to make you Japanese." Right? And then
Honto?
yeah, well done. Paul just spoke Japanese, everyone.
Look it up.
So 007 disguises himself as a Japanese man. Now, bear in mind,
What?
Sean Connery is Scottish. That's actually the opposite of Japanese.
Did I get Mickey Rooney in to
Dude,
consult?
no. You would think so. It's actually not that far off because they put like fake eyelids on him and they put a black toupee on him that's fluffy and they have it. I don't know, these bushy eyebrows, all this sort of stuff. If you look at it today, the effect is really offensive because he's
Sounds
trying to
about
pass himself off as a Japanese.
convincing as this accent.
It's if you take
I was
a look
kind
at
of going
it.
for Russian. I don't know what I was going for.
Either way, equally convincing. But yeah, and every Asian stereotype is also employed in there. You got your ninjas, you got your overtly sexual female Asian characters and stuff like that.
Isn't every female in James Bond overtly sexual?
You know what? You may have a point. You're right. But I
It would be discriminatory not to make a character.
Yeah, you're right, actually. If they were all of a sudden really clean and stuff, like, why? What's wrong with them? Asians like to fuck too. You know? But yeah, that's why James Bond has now gone M is a woman and fucking Moneypenny is not a little fucking secretary anymore. All that shit, man. So you can't make this today.
Nope. Oh, I agree with you from the sounds. It sounds all bad. Neither can you make my number 6 today, even though it was a very funny film from the 90s now. 1994, first time I'm venturing this far forward.
Okay.
Now, who didn't laugh at Jim Carrey as Ace Ventura?
Oh, yeah.
Right. It was funny. It's a funny film.
Hilarious.
Right, especially the first one. Some people like the second one when nature calls better.
I don't mind that at all.
But I'm not in that camp. However, the scene where the villain is revealed to be a man disguised as a woman, played by
Sean
Young. Boy, let the outrage flow.
Okay,
because now we are people of transgender are evil and bad, and they play it for laughs, and they're humiliating this person, and it's just.
Let me ask you this, because what happens in the
wrong.
show, I'm sure you'll all recall, is that when finally it is revealed that she tucks and has like balls and dick in the back of her bunching her panties situation, then everyone in the whole movie throws up.
Yeah.
Like so
with the crying game
with the
music
crying
playing.
game music, and then he
Shouldn't
runs into a
laugh.
show
It's
naked.
fucking
It's
terrible.
fucking funny. I'm sorry, it was funny. All right, at the time it was really, really funny. Okay, now it doesn't play quite as well because it's just
Quite as well.
I still think that you could get a laugh out of it if you're drunk or something. I don't know. It's like the yuck is them going because it's like people throwing up is funny as opposed to I don't know. It's a tough one, but I think that it could get made today.
Then.
I'm telling you that I think comedy for comedy's sake still has a place
Moving
and
on.
some value.
Wait, number
You're
5.
sucking a dick, man. All right, everyone. Number 5 is Revenge of the Nerds.
Okay, yeah, this is on heaps of people's lists.
Okay, but more.
Well, I didn't put it on mine.
And even I, at the time, and given my jauntiness this episode, you wouldn't think so.
It's one way of putting it.
Well, there's scenes where obviously the Revenge of the Nerds go into the sorority and they install cameras and they spy on women, and it's played for, look at this, and it's pure titillation. Fine, all right? That was the 80s. I mean, not fine, but
Yes,
it was
good.
the 80s.
There's a lot of that this episode.
It
was the 80s.
It was the 80s, and so, and I, at the time, because this is the thing, I have a hard time reconciling how I felt at the time and then trying to be indignant about it now just because I'm old. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's why I'm trying to give...
Presumably you've moved... Oh, wait, who am I talking to? Maybe you haven't moved with the times.
No, I have moved with the times, but I also hate them a bit. So... So for me, it's just like, well, I can't say, oh, I can't believe this shit happened. Well, I laughed at it at the time, so fuck you. I'm being honest, right? So,
Yeah, but at the time it was okay to laugh, but now you look back and go, yeah, but I wouldn't laugh.
but then you persecute yourself. It just seems
No, I'm
wrong.
not persecuting myself. I'm just saying, like, that's not good.
No, it's not good, but like the whole thing is it was made back then. That's how you should treat art. It's a capsulation of its
Of its
time.
time, sure, but we're talking about what would get remade today, and no, it wouldn't because.
Yeah, but still. Anyway, long story short, the bigger problem I had with this movie is that there's a scene where the head nerd dresses up in like a costume or something and poses as this girl's boyfriend.
Yeah.
And then fucks her, right? And then takes the helmet off and she's like, hey, you're not my boyfriend.
Oh my
and he's
God.
like, yeah, we're this. And she's immediately into it. She's like, yeah, well, that's
Nope.
great then. I'm like,
That
oh,
shit-
fuck, you just got raped.
That shit gets you arrested and put away
You
for
were
a
going to
long
fucking jail,
time.
all right?
Yep.
So that was the real problem I had
Yeah,
with this film.
that's even worse.
And
I 100% agree.
No one's even going near that now. But again, you're meant to be, hey, that's the good guy. He's the fucking protagonist that just raped that woman. So
Odd choices.
Not happening.
You're 100% right. And as I said, heaps of people mentioned that particular one. All right, my number 5. This is where I had Heathers.
Good one. Not bad. Oh, yeah. I can see this being a favorite. My number 4 is a cartoon that I enjoyed as a child, and I actually remember this
Fritz the Cat.
one. What's Fritz the Cat?
It's an R-rated porn
Is
cartoon.
it? Oh, God.
Also wouldn't get made today.
No, I did say no.
Well, it
actually,
would,
it's been
in the bowels of
but
the internet.
privately, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
No, this one is called Song of the South.
Oh, yeah. I've never seen it. So
Oh, dude,
couldn't count it.
I've seen it 3 times, right? Because when I was a kid,
Apparently it's hard to see these days.
it is
Like,
hard to
they
see.
they've hidden this
They've
shit away.
hidden it, all right? Now, what it is, it's actually a mixture of live action and animation, right? But it's much earlier than the Cool World stuff. But it is a depiction of essentially African Americans who were slaves and how the Uncle Remus is this character who's like really jaunty and happy about the dude, talking about how happy he is. Not so much about being a slave, but he is a slave who's so happy that he sings.
Of course.
And he's doing it for the pleasure of white children. And there's characters in there's characters like there's animated characters that are definitely meant to be black and white characters. Like there's a fox who's definitely a white guy, and there's this very sort of browny dark rabbit that's a black character because it speaks similar to Remus.
Right.
It is just, it's so, Disney has actually buried this one.
Yeah, they have.
They don't put it on streaming services. They don't do anything. And it's
Gone in the vault.
No, it's totally gone in the vault. But but as a child, I really liked the fact that there were animated birds around him. I'm just saying. I was like,
So that Mary Poppins era, right?
totally. Like the dawn of time in terms of like, Disney features. But yeah, never made today. Not even close.
100%
Not even
agree.
close.
If I hadn't, I read about it, so I know about it. In fact, way back when, I think we had Wes and John on the show from the Southern American states, and one of them talked about it on the show as like just top 10 films of the South. One of them threw it on there. Okay, so my number 4 then. Here is the first mention of this. I think one listener picked this one out, and that was Joey from the So Is It podcast, because I know he's a huge fan of this movie as well. The Monster Squad. The Monster Squad is like leveling up the Goonies
Oh, is it ever?
towards Stranger Things kind of territory.
Yeah, I would agree
So
with
this would be sort of somewhere in between. And there's no way parents groups would fall over themselves to ban this film. If a film about sort of 12 to 15-year-old kids fighting Dracula and the Wolfman
But what
and
do
the
they have,
Merman. Sorry?
They have guns.
They have guns. They're running around with guns and crossbows and shit like that. And
Totally.
Dracula calls a 5-year-old child, you little
Bitch. That's right.
fucking hell. I watched this just the other, 3 weeks ago. I watched it again. It's fantastic.
Of course it's fantastic. Because when you're a boy and you got your boys going
Yep.
around, the idea of slaying monsters with a gun and crossbow actually sounds cool.
Wolfman has nards.
Oh, that's right. He got
Kicks him in the nuts. It's violent. It's
Yeah.
The kids are put in real danger. None of them die, but yeah, it's no way this shit would get made today.
Man, I remember just liking the shit out of that. That whole era. What year was it?
87.
87, yeah, makes sense.
Written
yeah.
and directed by Fred Decker, and I'm pretty sure
Who's
that
he?
Shane Black had a hand in this.
Yes, Shane
script
Black
as
was
well.
the writer or something, I think.
Yeah, and the kids curse. They
That-
they shame their fat friend. They use
Oh,
gay
yeah.
slurs.
That's right, they do. Oh, yeah. There's tons of that
I
shit.
think the F word is uttered. So
Is it really? I don't remember that, but okay, cool. Monster Squad, not bad. Actually, it's an honorable mention of mine.
Okay, yep.
So, yeah. But my number 3, no one mentioned.
Oh, okay.
And this is something I've always thought. Now, there's a movie in 1982 called Zapped. Okay.
I think I watched it when I was really young.
Oh, I watched it when I was very young.
But I watched it when I was too young
It
to
may
even
have been the
appreciate it.
first breasts I've seen on
Oh,
screen.
look out.
Could be wrong. Scott Baio, Willie Ames. Okay, this movie is about high school kids. One in particular, played by Scott Baio, who's a nerd who gains telekinetic powers after a lab accident. Sure. Then he uses that ability to.
Sounds like a Marvel film.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So he uses that ability to then rip open women's shirts and expose their titties.
Equally sounds like a DC film.
Every time this happens in the movie, it's played for laughs and titillation. There's no tone on the scene where you're led to believe there's anything wrong with someone doing that. It's like, oh, it's like that kind of thing.
And I'm sure the women were just totally happy.
They were like, oh no, like barely covering up. It's like, oh,
Like a Benny
fucking
Hill
hell.
sketch.
Also, here's why I remember the film. Okay, early in the movie,
Strap yourselves in.
No, check it out. Willie Ames is playing the high school newspaper photographer or something, and he goes up to this teacher. He has to take some official photos of her for an interview or something, and the teacher's really hot. They decide, she goes, okay, well, let's go to a room to take the photos, right? And he follows her to the room, and on the way there, he takes creep shots of her ass using his
Oh my
huge
God.
SLR camera, right? And you see, as they approach the room, that she's looking over her shoulder, and she kind of knows that he's taking them. Then they go in the room, and she basically is totally takes off her jacket and stuff. She's only wearing a bra underneath, and she starts posing for shots for him.
A teacher with a student.
A teacher with a student, all right? And
Oh my
and
God.
she's just not, she's not doing that thing. And that's where I realized that the idea of just a bra under your jacket, that's the best thing ever, right? And so then they go on to do it. And that's that's not even the main plot of this movie. That's just an opening
Yeah,
bit.
I get it.
So
You're right. This would never get made.
this ain't
today.
going anywhere.
Nope. Not at all.
At least not through a studio.
Oh, yeah, you're right. All right, well, my number 3, here's where I had airplane / flying high.
Oh,
There's high up.
this is high.
Because like I said,
Flying
it's
high.
a damn good film.
I agree.
Hilarious, but totally wrong.
I really liked the joke where he goes, now the shit's really gonna hit the fan, and there's a simple cut to a fan and a piece of shit hitting it and falling off. And that's the whole joke.
And that's okay. That wouldn't offend anyone.
No, that's great. You should put that in a movie now.
There you go. Coming to a cinema soon near you. All right, Wayne, number 2.
My number 2 is where Soul Man happens, son.
Wow, that is high.
Oh yeah, I'm telling you, I was impressed.
I'm assuming your number 2 then. My number 2 is your number 1 because my number 1 will not be on your list. My number 2, I rewatched it on Friday night
What?
to see just how bad this film was because it was mentioned by 73,000 people.
Sure.
So I decided I would put it, I'd seen it once when I was very young and too young to probably appreciate most of the humor. It's Blazing Saddles.
Of course it bloody is. Of course it's my number 1. Dude.
We could spend the next 40 minutes
They could do a whole show on the show.
unpacking all the non-PC jokes in this film.
It's actually as if you were looking for a mixed bag of actual jokes. It's like black jokes, white jokes, Jew jokes, Indian jokes, Mexican jokes, rape jokes, fart jokes, N-bombs, fucking everything.
And
Like,
everywhere.
but everywhere. Like the whole thing is that movie. And guess what? It's one of the funniest fucking comedies I've ever seen. So what?
Yeah. I guess it was funny watching it again. I didn't find it anywhere near as funny as people are talking about. Even you. Like, I laughed. I'm not saying I didn't laugh.
I watched it again not long ago.
But I wasn't blown away the way I expected it to be.
Yeah, you have to kind of...
My rewatch, for example, of Monty Python and Holy Grail a couple of weeks before, way funnier.
Really? See, I'm just remembering who the kid I was when I sent it. Because the scene that everyone talked about in school
The
was the
flash
baked
zones.
beans
Yes.
farting, right?
Yep.
And I'd never seen anything like it.
Before nor since.
Nor since. Well, there was that time we all hung out on the beach, but the other deal is, but if you think about it, though, right? This is one of those Starship Troopers-y like things, like, but maybe this is misinterpreted. This is actually almost.
They're very aware of what they're doing.
They're aware of what they're doing, and the black sheriff comes to the racist town, and he's the only competent or moral one,
and
there.
he turns them all,
and he turns them
saves
all.
yeah.
Exactly. So it's.
So by the end, they have embraced it.
Exactly.
Yes.
So it's not really a racist show at all. It's just that
Mel
that's
Brooks
how it's
as the governor or whatever he is of the
Oh
state.
god, with the zipping and the like,
And the woman who's just sitting there with her breasts out, in
just
this,
titties out.
I'm like, what the hell?
Even he said that it wouldn't be made today.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, he has acknowledged that. Exactly what I was going to say as well. All right, well that's your number one. So just give us a run back 3, 10, 3, 1, then Wayne, and I'll reveal my number one after that.
sure, my number 10 was Better Off Dead. Number 9, Heathers. Number 8, Cool World. 7, totally down with that. 7, Airplane. 6,
Nope.
What? Fuck
Nope.
you. You Only Live Twice. 5, it was Revenge of the Nerds. 4, Song of the South. 3, Zapped. 2, Soul Man. And number 1 was Blazing Saddles.
All right, then, reading back through mine. My number 10 was Overboard from 1987. Soul Man at 9. Some Like It Hot at 8. Weird Science at 7. Number 6, Ace Ventura Pet Detective. 5, Heathers. 4, The Monster Squad. 3, Airplane, aka Flying High, for those of us here in Australia. Number 2, Blazing Saddles. And my number 1, top film that would never get made today, is an excellent film. It's foreign. It's from Japan. It's from the year 2000, so it's actually the newest film on my list. It's Battle Royale.
Whoa, because of the kids killing each other in a school?
Follow me here, ladies and gentlemen. Battle Royale was so controversial, the Japanese distributor, did not want to send it to America.
I didn't know that.
They sat on it for as long as they could until some distribution company in America got on board and said, no, there's a place for it. But it was like a year and a half later.
Yeah.
Maybe even 2 years later.
Ah.
So this is a film which is in the near dystopian future. And Japan won World War II. The Axis won World War II.
Oh, yeah.
And Japan's youth have become so unruly that they kidnap a random class of like 15 or 16-year-olds,
Yeah.
stick them on an island, and they fight to the death with only one person can get out of there alive.
And what does that prove?
Somehow it keeps the rest of Japan's youth in more ruly state. I don't really
Is
understand.
it like Hunger Games where everyone's like
Well,
a...
Hunger Games, the author of the Hunger Games, can't remember her name off the top of my head,
Yeah.
never saw Battle Royale. Like, fuck you didn't, lady. Because that follows the formula, but modernizes it and puts it in a much safer kind of way.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So that one...
This is brutal.
This is brutal, is it?
And the kids are in school uniform. They start out that way, and
yeah.
over the course of the day or two, they progressively, become more.
So is it
savage.
one day? Is it just one day?
Yeah, maybe starts at night, goes through the next night. Might even be 2 days, but basically,
That's cool.
It's all in that one sort of time frame.
I've never seen it.
It's brutal. I've read the book as well, by the way, and yeah, the book was pretty good too. It's
Yeah.
brutal. It's unflinching, and there is no way in hell they would put 16-year-old actors
Literally, I don't
in
think...
this way.
I don't even think any international studio would do this. You just say, okay, definitely not an American distributor or whatever, but I don't think anyone else would do it.
And like you might say, well, they made the Hunger Games. Well, it's such a toned down, light version thereof,
Yeah.
set in a much different kind of world where the fantasy elements are played up. It's like a different kind of world.
Is this set more is Battle Royale more contemporary?
Yes,
It
it's
is.
basically the near future.
Near
It's
future.
like 5 or 6 years,
Okay,
10 years
yeah.
maybe in the future.
Yeah, in Hunger Games, it's all like almost wildernessy.
Yeah,
So yeah, I get it.
I can understand people going, "Well, they made the Hunger Games." Yeah, but you've seen the Hunger Games, you've seen Battle Royale, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Good one.
So there he is. That's our list. Wayne, any honorable mentions you want to throw out there?
Yeah, man. Life of Brian. The Bad News Bears.
Yes, Bad News Bears.
Bad
was
News Bears
mentioned.
is kids just fucking drinking alcohol, smoking, and cussing. You know that Matthew Perry movie with Dylan McDermott and Naomi? I can't remember the fucking name now. Sorry, but it was basically it's kind of a gay shaming kind of movie.
Dynamite drop
Yeah,
in money.
yeah.
The broadcast
You know what?
school has really paid off.
I wrote my actual note says that Matthew Perry won.
Best research ever.
Should have just skipped it. Sorry. That's it.
All right, I've got Mrs. Doubtfire again, dude in drag, and
I reckon you can make that today, but it would be tough.
yep, 48 hours because Nick Nolte's character is just such a racist asshole.
You'd have to play it like Gran Torino, but yeah.
You have to dumb it right down
Yeah.
and make it much more safe. And Trading Places because Dan
Oh,
Aykroyd
shit, yeah,
does
yeah.
the blackface.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
It was so bad too.
Very close to my list. It was the last one I excised off it.
Nice.
All right, that's our list. What about yours? We wrap up every show with your feedback on the topic in a segment we call the Pop 10.
Talk about.
Pop 10. Talk about. Pop 10. Kicking off this week's Pop 10 with feedback from Kevin Lawler, who said Blazing Saddles has to be everyone on everyone's list,
Hell
right?
yeah.
These days, Mrs. Doubtfire wouldn't fly either, would it? Random third? That monstrosity, that's Sorority Boys. Pretty rough. For your information, you are by far my favourite podcast, and I even got my wife hooked. You're the best.
What's up? My man.
So, yeah.
For God's
That's for you, Kevin.
You sing it, then you drop it. Okay.
From the Pino Comics podcast, check him out. Good guys. Heathers, a humorous film centered around school violence. No, not today. Blazing Saddles is way too loose with its racial humor for today's climate. And the main character rapes a girl in Revenge of the... I shouldn't have said it so jauntily. The main character rapes a girl in Revenge of the Nerds, essentially, so that may not fly either. I think you're 100% correct
Oh, yeah, it's all there.
Movie reviews in 20 Q's podcast. Sam from that show, recently our guest host on our show. Blazing Saddles is the obvious winner, but the toy and Soul Man are flipping horrendous
What's
too.
the toy?
The toy is when basically rich white folk kid buys Richard Pryor to be a toy.
Shit, I remember it.
Yep.
I remember it now.
I
Yes.
couldn't remember it well enough to put it on my list, but
Yeah, his
it
name was
sounds horrendous.
Master Bates.
Really?
The kid's name.
Come on.
His last name was Bates. They call him Master Bates. It's a joke. It's a joke.
The Gorilla Brain podcast, in all honesty, no Mel Brooks movie would be appropriate today.
No way.
Which
No
is
way.
Probably fair.
Yeah.
Chris Yini, high up level patron and good friend to the show. I'm going to go with my favourite 3-pack, Animal House, Porky's, and Revenge of the Nerds.
That's good. They're all essentially rapey.
Yeah. With an honourable mention to Debbie Does Dallas, because nobody wants to cheer for Dallas anymore.
That must be an NFL
It's a
joke.
sports joke,
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
Tara O'Holick, another good friend and patron to the show. Hard to choose, but I don't think you can make Groundhog Day, Stand By Me, and anything starring Molly Ringwald in the 80s.
Why Groundhog Day?
I asked that, she said, why not? So I don't know. Tara.
All right, okay. All right.
Honourable mention, Better Off Dead. There you go.
Hell yeah.
Tim Cormack just said the whole of the 80s.
Fair enough.
And my response to that was, because there's no fucking coke today. Yeah. A bit of a riff there.
In
on
the 80s,
Usual
everyone did
Suspects.
coke.
Yes.
Yes.
Epic film, guys. Our very good mate Nick from that show. It's for sure Blazing Saddles, but I'll also give nods to Revenge of the Nerds and Trading Places.
Trading Places. Didn't think about it, but good call.
The Test of Time. We talk about this on our show a lot. Soul Man, a white kid, basically puts on blackface. Weird Science, 2 boys create a woman to be their plaything. And Overboard, rom-com where the guy rapes the girl. They did a gender swap remake, but the original script would be a definite no.
Mm-hmm.
John D said Caddyshack, Kentucky Fried Movie, and Airplanes. A lot of these 80s gross out
Did you
extreme
see a
comedies.
Kentucky Fried Movie?
I think I watched it when I was young.
I know. I was trying to remember it.
But I was at that age where a lot of the jokes would have
Oh, it
gone
would have absolutely
straight over
I
my
would've-
head.
Yeah.
The Recast and Couch podcast says, I love this topic. We did an episode on it a few months ago, so you might want to check that out. Soul Man was considered progressive in its time.
Yes, they would in the 80s. Think about it. Absolutely.
Jeez.
I can't believe you were such a good actor that you acted like an African American. They would have been like that, man. I'm telling you.
We're evening things up. Mackenzie Lambert, long-term old school listener, Blazing Saddles freaks. Then he had Burial Ground, Knights of Terror, and Anthropophagus.
Okay.
I said, what's the story with those? He said, well, Burial Ground has some disturbing incestuous undertones. And Anthropophagus has the scene of a pregnant woman, hold on to your hats, ladies and gentlemen, having her fetus ripped out.
Oh, for God's sake.
Thanks, Mac.
Damn.
Let's light it up again with the Dumb Guzzler podcast said, Bad News Bears, drunk little league coach, odd relationship with a young daughter of a woman he dated, racist and hoodlum kids. It's great.
Oh.
Emily Higgins from the Tasteless podcast, A Clockwork Orange, Ace Ventura, and perhaps even Mrs. Doubtfire. Still love Ace despite it all.
Yeah, so do I.
Over to our Facebook listener community for the last few. Tom Ashdown said, most films from Paul Verhoeven. Full stop. David Power had Soul Man. Heathers, comedy about teen suicide and, school shootings. And number 1, Pretty Baby. Louis Malle's film featured 12-year-old Brooke Shields as a 12-year-old girl whose prostitute mother, played by Susan Sarandon, lets her madam put her to work in the brothel where they auction off her virginity.
Okay, I actually read on this one, and I read that she actually does a nude scene. Is that right? At 12? That can't be right?
Keith Carradine hooks up with her and they get married, and she's 12, David reiterated. Yeah, and he said there's nudity aplenty.
What?
No wonder Brooke Shields got a bit weird after nudity because she was in whatever that Blue Lagoon movie was. And after that, she kind of just notoriously refused to get a kid off anymore.
I don't see how that happened, though. Did she not have parents, a handler, a lawyer?
It's so wrong. So wrong. Etienne Filion. Salve. Yeah. The old Mel Brooks stuff, the producers and Blazing Saddles especially. Here's the first mention, and it gets mentioned a lot, of the original Birth of a Nation from like 1915 or something like that. It's still considered a classic by film scholars today, but boy is it cringe with its blackface and KKK origin story. Honorable mention to Gone with the Wind here as well. And number 3, Caddyshack. That film is saucy. And lastly, from Richard Said, new member to the Facebook listener community, surviving teen suicide movie is just horrible and so sad. Professional, the stuff with Natalie Portman would not be shown today, just way too creepy. That's interesting.
Do you reckon?
That's interesting. And the last one, which I've saved for last, The Savage is Loose. 70s shipwreck movie seeing a husband and wife and their son stranded on an island with no hope of rescue. The son grows into a man and fights his dad to have his mum. And of course, she relents. No
this is disgusting. That's just gross. Wow.
Let's end it on that note.
Yeah, that's the exact point I avoid.
Oh, God. If you'd like to give us your feedback, how do listeners go about doing that, Wayne?
Well, go ahead and Google The Countdown Movie and TV Reviews or send us an email at thecountdownpodcast@gmail.com.
We're on Twitter at The Countdown PC. You can join the Facebook listener community. Link is in the show notes. You can check us out on Podbean where we host our show, or indeed on our Australian website where we are part of the CC Radio Network. Check out Comic Confidential and Believe. And that's it for today's show.
We're out, kids.
225. What's happening next week, Wayne?
Oh, fuck off.
For episode 226.
I don't fucking know. Let me look at the damn spreadsheet.
Hang on, here we go.
Hold up, bitch. Don't, you ain't got to... This is going to take a while, motherfucker. I don't
That's what I said. We got the music.
And that was A Walk in the Black Forest. Any Goodies fans might get that one. I don't know. Yes. Next week, kids, we are going to... I don't know what we're going to do.
Have we got nothing there?
We ain't said shit yet. Please, we're going to come right back and get a topic for you.
It's time for another walk in the Black Forest.
Okay, next week we are going to do the top 10 Rebel movies. Rebel films?
That is correct. From top-level patron David Powers is his request
CP.
for our direction to do his topic for this year. And what is that, Wayne? Rebel films?
Anything really that has rebellion or revolution as its central theme. It could be a big-ass thing with like one against the nation kind of shit.
Nationwide revolution.
Or just a one man against the system kind of thing. So, rebel shit.
Or just Rebel movies.
Rebels
That's next
movies.
week's topic for episode 226. We hope you'll join us then. And that is it for today. Thanks so much for listening along and getting involved. And
Thanks,
hopefully
kids.
we didn't offend you. Well, Wayne didn't offend you too much.
Hopefully you understand what I'm trying to say. And that is that Paul loves cock.
Holy hell, son, you're about as useful as a cock-flavored lollipop.
Okay, it's kind
All right,
fair enough.
Excellent. All right. That is it for us. My name is Paul.
My name is Wayne.
And we will catch you next week.
Sunboard sucked a dick.
You can't handle the truth.
He rode a blazing saddle, he wore a shining star. His job to offer battle to bad men near and far. He conquered fear and he conquered hate. He turned dark night into day. He made his blazing saddle a torch to